Alrighty. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for viewing this recording. We are going to be recording this work-based learning event. So today is Friday, May 20th. And we are here with Bruno Marchesi from the U.S. Soccer Foundation. And once again, my name is Sarai Franco, work-based learning coordinator with my colleague.
Jesse Oliveros. Thank you guys for the opportunity to share this information with you. We are excited to bring a dear friend of mine to the conversation that I've had the privilege of working with through my journey in the field of education and the field of expanded learning. And we feel that our privileged guest here will be able to share some exciting opportunities that you can take advantage of and information on ways that you too can make a difference in the field of education and in the lives of students in your communities.
Great, thank you so much. So really appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you. Want to thank Sarai and Jesse for the invitation, for their kind invitation. I wanted to start by highlighting that what Jesse mentioned in his speaking part, which is this is a journey. This is really about the journey. So for example, today is Jesse's birthday. Happy birthday, Jesse. And so the journey continues. And Jesse and I go back many years. And what I want to chat with you today is really about my journey. Perhaps that could bring some perspective as you continue your own journey and thinking about what is it that you want to do. So let me start with this. So again, my name is Bruno Marchesi. I am a program director at the U.S. Soccer Foundation, and but that's not how my journey started. My journey, I was born and raised in Peru, South America, and came here to the United States when I was about 10 years old. And the only reason that I'm mentioning that is because I was that student that couldn't speak the language. I was an English language learner that got put into a fifth grade classroom without understanding anyone in the class or the teacher or anybody else. And at some point was asked to sort of figure it out. And through that journey of, doing the work, to learn a new language, to learn the skills alongside, learning the materials and learning the culture of a new country. And that experience really has shaped me and molded me into the person that I am today. So that's why I bring it into this conversation. The second part of that journey is not only was I an English language learner in a new country, with just a new culture, it was really about, just what general kids go through as they're trying to find their voice and trying to find themselves into who they are, who they want to be, and what they want to do. And so I offered this to you today. Sometimes it takes for us to find our voice to break cycles. And sometimes it takes for us to break cycles to find our voice. And so I want to chat with you a little bit about that. So sure, I'm currently a director at the U.S. Soccer Foundation, and our mission is to serve underserved communities around the country by exposing students who otherwise wouldn't have a chance to play sports in underserved communities, the opportunity to play soccer, to be involved in a sport that they love, but with using soccer as a vehicle to teach other things like social and emotional learning and health and wellness and mentorship and safe places and community engagement and all of the other things that we know we all need in our communities at the moment. So it's not just about the sport, but it's about using sport as a vehicle to teach other things that we all need in our lives. So that's what I currently do now. I do a lot of work in LA County. I actually visit LA in LA County quite a bit. We have built over 50 mini pitches, soccer mini pitches around LA County that you can visit and you can play in. And the beautiful thing about the work that we do is that, say, for example, when we built a mini pitch in LA County, it is yours. It becomes part of the community. And only when it becomes part of the community, then people are willing to utilize it and call it their own and call it home, and a place that they feel safe enough to meet their friends with the ball and have a good time. And that's what really the work is all about. It's not about having an outsider who will always be a visitor to that community. It's about empowering young people and empowering the people from that community so that they have their own voice in their own community, rather than having somebody from the outside who will always be a visitor tell communities what to do next or how to do something. So that's really the work. And so what I want to share with you today is a little bit about the journey that I've experienced into the career that I have right now, but more importantly, the how, the step-by-step on what you can do right now, today, and tomorrow in your own journey as you continue to discover what is it that you want to do. And then third is resources that you can utilize to continue mapping out that journey. So let me start with my own journey really quickly. So again, you know, when I was, for example, in high school, like you are now, I didn't have a clue of what I wanted to do or what I wanted to study, or if I really wanted to continue my education. I was a soccer player. I was a, you know, like I played soccer in high school. I played soccer in my traveling team, and my family was the family that just couldn't afford the uniform, couldn't afford the cleats or the registration form. And I remember, you know, like just playing every day outside of my house and practicing and working hard and just putting in the work, where I had the privilege that coaches saw something in me where they were willing to invest not only their time, but their knowledge, and invest even dollars into paying for my registration or pay for my uniform because I couldn't. And so a lot of times, you know, half of the battle is showing up, right? Like putting in the work. And then hopefully the other half is that you find somebody in your own circle or network that sees the potential in you so clearly that you also start to believe that yourself. But it starts with you. It starts about you being willing to put in the work, being willing to put in the time. And then the second half of the equation is, do you have a support system around you, whether it's immediate friends, family, or external, like in my case was a coach that saw the potential in me before I started to see it myself. And so my dream was like, I wanted to play soccer. That was the goal. I didn't have much larger aspirations than that, like any other teenager. And I was lucky enough to be asked to come try out for one of the professional soccer teams in the area right out of high school. And so I dabbled in as a professional soccer player for a little bit, but the reality is, as glamorous as that may sound, I was not physically nor mentally ready at 17 and a half years old to be a professional soccer player or to put in what it takes to be a professional athlete, to dedicate the time and the resources to like hone in my craft and get better. And so that only lasted for a little bit. And so then what happens next, right? And so my path into the field of education began with going to community college. I attended community college in the Bay Area in California. And then I was recruited to play soccer at a community college in Sacramento. And that's how I made my way to where I live today, which is in the Sacramento County area in Northern California. And so I really loved my time in community college. The one thing about community college nowadays is that we're blessed in California that community college is now free and accessible to all of us. And so I would tell you that that is a fantastic opportunity. And the reason why I value community college so much, and you should consider it as an option, is that you will be sitting in a classroom with the 18-year-old that hasn't figured out the entire plan for the whole rest of their life. And you will sit down with a person who's 55, who has had already a career and knows that they need to take this one class or get this extra degree so that they can advance in the current job or profession that they have, or that they want to move on to the next profession that they would like to have. And that difference in different walks of life, different perspectives, I find it so valuable that you learn so much more from the people that you're sitting next to in a community college than sometimes that you learn from the books that you actually read in community college. And so if you ever get a chance to take a class at a community college, you would see that it's a great pathway to not only further your education, but also transfer to a four-year university, say a state university or a University of California system university. And there are so many options available in California. So after that, I was, I kind of was done being a soccer player, and I was asking myself, like, what's next after that? And as I continued my education in community college, and as I was like, coaching a little bit, coaching as a soccer coach in around town, I was like, what if I could apply the lessons learned from sport, from coaching soccer into a classroom setting? What would that be like? It's still youth development, right? It's still working with young people. It's still moving people forward. So I decided to get a job at an after-school program. And that literally changed my whole career, my whole pathway, my whole outlook into what an educator is. A lot of us, believe that an educator is a teacher, is a professor. But there are countless ways to teach, to positively impact young people, to get into the world and the space of youth development. So that after school program really opened my eyes into, I could still work with kids, I could still have fun, I could still, keep kids safe and engaged from the hours of 3 to 6 when, there's a lot of dangers for kids between the hours of 3 to 6, where they could be victims of crime, they could be committing crimes if they're left unattended. There are food insecurity issues after school, right? Who's going to help somebody with their homework? And so it really taught me a lot about what, the pathway that one could get in the field of education through what we call the side door, right? Not necessarily being a teacher, but being and calling myself an educator. And from that, I, moved up the ranks in after school, became a director, became a regional director. Then I started working with the California After School Network to provide technical assistance to all of the after school programs in California, which we have about 5,000 of them. And as I kept growing in my own craft, in my own experience, I went from working in one after school program with 20 students to working with 900,000 students statewide, to working now nationally with 1 million students around the country. But nothing has changed in that it's still about impacting the life of one person, one child. You just get now 1 million opportunities to do so, or statewide 900,000 opportunities to do so. Or when I worked in the after school program, I got 20 opportunities to do so. But the concept is the same, is what are you willing to share in terms of sharing your gifts, sharing your knowledge, sharing your time. So that has been really my experience. And as I continue to move up, I don't know where this is going to take me, Although I do know and understand that it's about impacting one person at a time, and just sharing what you know and what you have to share, and people find value in that. So let me give you then the step-by-step on how I approach my work, and how you should consider mapping out yours. I think about, if I were in high school again, like you are now, and you're about to graduate, so please know, congratulations. This is a big deal. Some of us, we may be the first person that has graduated in our family, right? We may come from a culture where parents are like, well, you just need to work to help the family, right? Like college isn't an option. Like, I never went to college. I never went past 4th grade. Therefore, you shouldn't either. And you have to like break those barriers and help people understand what your path is. So this is the way I think about it. If I were in high school, once again, if I were in 12th grade and thinking about what do I do next, I want you to consider not to think about what do I want to be, because a lot of people will ask you the question, what do you want to be? But ask yourself the question, what do I want to do? Because there's a difference between what do I want to be versus what do I want to do. And let me give you an example. My father, when we lived in Peru, he was a computer engineer. He went to school, became a computer engineer, worked as a computer engineer for 20 years of his life. When we came to this country, because we didn't speak the language, he could no longer be a computer engineer. So he started delivering newspapers to support our family. And because that's just the nature of my culture, we all then deliver newspapers as a family. So I deliver newspapers from the age of 10 to the age of 28. Every night, 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., Monday through Sunday. And it wasn't a job, it was just helping out the family. And and I think about the humility that it takes for somebody like my father to go from being a computer engineer to, say, delivering newspapers, and what that took for him to say, I just have to do whatever I have to do to support my family. And we did that for a long time, and that really shaped me on who I am. And right now, we're probably we're studying for careers that don't even exist. You are currently going into careers and studying for jobs that haven't been created. 8 years ago, being a professional full-time YouTuber was not a thing, right? It just wasn't. And so I'm going to ask you to not think about what do I want to be, but think about what do I want to do. And so I think about it in 4 perspectives. The first perspective, when I think about the 4 C's of education. And the 4 C's of 21st century skills in education are communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. And those 4 skills or sets of skills, you can use them in any job you get, or any job or any career that you may want. So let me start with communication. From my own experience, I had to learn to communicate, to tell my family that college was an option. And this is what college, or the opportunity of college, looks like, and how much it costs, and what do you get out of it. And it was almost like learning together, what the experience was. And it took a lot of communication for me to be able to shape perception. And remember this, that at the end of the day, a lot of us get labeled by others. So I would tell you that unless you're willing to shape your own narrative, somebody's going to try to dictate the narrative for you, and they will label you something. They will label you the A student. They will label you the individualized education plan student, the IEP student. They will label you the soccer player. They will label you the whatever. Tell your own story. so that at least you get a say in it. So communication is key. Nothing happens without communication. And I would say that I would tell you that communication shapes perception. Perception becomes your reputation, and reputation becomes who you ultimately are. And please know that you, none of us, are in charge of our reputation. If you want the gut check is as real as this. Be vulnerable enough to ask 10 people that you know, people that care about you, your friends, family, whoever, to describe you in one word. If 7 of them say the same word, well, guess what? That's who you are. That's your current reputation. Say it's positive and you really like what they say. Great. You can either prove them right or prove them wrong. Say you don't like what they say about you. Well, we go back to step 1. Communicate. Start shaping the narrative of who you want to be, how you want them to see you, who you are as a person. And then you can start to reshape it so that it ultimately, when you ask again, the same 10 people, they say the same thing. And that's what it's all about. So say, for example, for me, say today I showed up. The last meeting, the Sarai and Jesse scheduled with me, I showed up. Whenever they write me an email, I tell them, you tell me the time and I will show up. So if you ask Jesse or Sarai, Jesse knows me for a long time, he could ask himself, does Bruno show up? Oh yeah, Bruno always shows up. Not today, not this month, not this year, for 10 years, that guy shows up, right? Sarai just met me 2 months ago. She doesn't know any different until I stop showing up. I could tell her, hey, I show up. So the more I show up, she goes, oh yeah, he shows up. Until I stop showing up. And that is what changes or shapes the perception. So you can do that too. And you can do that today. You can do that right now. And so that's the communication part that we need to be crystal clear about. How do we want others to see us? How do we view ourselves? How do we carry ourselves? What do we say about things? And whatever you decide to say about anything, please know that that is your truth. And no one can tell you that it's wrong because it's yours. So if I tell you that my story is that I delivered newspapers from the time that I was 10 to 28, no one's going to tell me, no, Bruno, that's a lie. You didn't do that, or that's not your story, right? Because it's my truth. It's my truth. So let's go to collaboration. And this is where I want to spend a little bit of time with you around. We currently live in a world where things happen because of relationships. The more people you meet, who you know, what they do. But I want you to consider this perspective. It's great to have a letter of recommendation. So for example, if you're about to graduate and you didn't ask already your 6 high school teachers to write you a letter, and you have less than 2 weeks, then we're 2 weeks too late. Get a letter from them. These are the people who know you, who know of your work, and you can take that letter with you and use it later, right? And these are the people that will front-facing support you in your next step, right? So that's easy. If you haven't done that, I would suggest that you do so like right now. But where I would invest more time is the people who advocate for you without you knowing that they're advocating for you. So for example, Sarai may have one of you in mind where she goes to a meeting, say she goes to a meeting with me and I say, hey, right now I'm working on creating a commercial that's going to be played 6 months from now. And Sarai goes, I have this one student at this one school who would be perfect for that because they want to go into design and they want to go into marketing and communication. Can I bring him or her to the next opportunity that you have, Bruno? She is advocating for you without you even being in the room. These are the people that we have to hold dear and close to us. And how will Sarai ever know that you're interested in that? Well, starts with communication. You tell her that you're interested in that. You tell her that, hey, next time you meet somebody who's into graphic design or is into sports management or whatever you're interested in, please keep me in mind. Here's my resume and 2 letters from my teacher saying that I'm good at that. Now you're arming Sarai with not only that you want to do it, but with the knowledge that you want to do it. And then because nobody else asked, now you're first in line of who she thinks of first for that opportunity if there's only one spot available. And that's how you do it. That really is the collaboration piece. It's about working with what you have right now, accessible to you now. The other thing that's interesting in this world that was not available in my world, but it is in yours, is that social media has changed the game into who is accessible to you with a simple DM to a sports figure, somebody who works in that world that you want to learn more about, to a director that you want to learn more about what they do every day. And guess what? I will tell you, because I get these almost weekly. The first hurdle is by the time people have chosen to write me an email that they would like to meet with me for 15 minutes to ask me 3 questions about my job or my career ladder or what I do, they already like went through their heads through like 5 different drafts. Should I send it? Like, he doesn't know me. I don't know. Like, I'm just from Los Angeles. He works in Washington, DC. He's never going to respond. By the time you work that out and you actually hit send, what if the person responds back? Because guess what? At the end of the day, we're all humans and we all had a journey. So you will send one to me and I'm that person who had the same question at 18. Should I send the email? Should I send my resume? Should I put in that application? And I doubted myself so hard if I was good enough that I never sent it. And so whenever I get them, I reply right back and I set up that meeting because I wish somebody would have given me that one tip that could save me 2 years of research, or I could meet one new person that I didn't know before, or connect me with one resource that I didn't have before. And that's really what it's all about, is connecting with people who have already went through some steps to figure some things out and can make it easier for you to go over those speed bumps that we all have to go through at a much quicker pace. Then I want to talk a little bit about critical thinking. Critical thinking, I actually am no one to tell you as a high school senior about critical thinking, because you literally are the experts at critical thinking. The amount of choices and options and things that you have to deal with in your world currently are way more than I ever had to deal with. And so as it relates to critical thinking, the one thing that I want to provide for you to consider today is keep an open mind and open horizons. And what do I mean by that? I have 2 daughters. One of them happens to be a senior. So we're having the same conversations that I'm having with you today. I'm having with her at this moment. We're applying for colleges. We're learning together. I applied for, FAFSA, and I haven't done that in about 25 years. So I am learning and relearning and learning again. And in that process, the critical thinking is she's interested, my daughter, in working with animals. So when she first came to me, she was like, I want to be a veterinarian. Great, proud dad moment. She wants to be a veterinarian. But I don't know anything about that world. So I was like, tell me more about that. What is it that you actually do? What is the college pathway look like for that? And as we were learning through that together, and that's what I mean, together, going back to collaboration, right? We both had to learn it together. we decided that the best path for her right now, while she was still in high school, was to volunteer at an animal shelter. She has been volunteering at this animal shelter here in my local city of Elk Grove, California, for the last 9 months. She loves it. She adores it. She definitely said, I want to go into this field. But now we realize, both of us, that to take care of animals, there's like 20 different jobs within this animal care shelter. It's not just the veterinarian. The veterinarian shows up 3 times a week, a couple of hours a week. And then everyone else who's there every day, 10 hours a day, like doing the work that it takes to take care of animals. She now has opened and extended her horizons about what she could go to school for, whether it's a veterinarian tech or an anesthesiologist or the caretaker of pets when they're in hospice, or there's so many different things that you can do. So it's not really about what do you want to be, but what do you want to do? And if the core value is, I want to help animals, well, there are 20 plus different ways that we can care for animals at a place. And learning that just gives you a leg up into the choices that you have available and into the paths that we can take to get there. So that's the critical thinking. Keep an open mind, talk to people, learn from people, do a lot of listening, and ask a lot of guided questions. And what you will find is more people are willing to share their story, because a lot of times we don't ask each other what our story is. And then the last thing is creativity. And what I want to say about creativity is that, you know, I work with a lot of people, I hire a lot of people, and creativity is truly one of the skills that sets people apart. Is what do you bring to the table that is unique, and it's like it says so much about you that is so different than everybody else. I'll give you one example. And this is a real example here in California, is that California, and due to COVID-19 and other factors, has stopped asking for SAT scores, ACT scores to get into colleges. And now, you know, a lot of colleges are asking for a personal story, you know, as part of the application process. Well, I used to be the program director at the School of Education at UC Davis. I did that for about 5 years. And through that experience, I got a chance to meet incredible students that attend UC Davis, both exchange students, new freshmen, transfer students, highly, highly intelligent people. And it was about, there's so many students, what sets you apart from everybody else who has the same grade, who comes from the same zip code, who may have the same plan of becoming X, Y, or Z. What sets you apart? And this is where your voice is really important. How do you tell your story of who you are as a person? What has been your journey? What have you done already? What do you want to continue to learn? And as you're thinking about going to a college or a university or getting your first job or starting your first career, is the creativity part is not so much, can I do that job? Or do I have the grades to qualify to attend this school? But to tell that recruiter, and this is what I bring to the table. This is what I can contribute. So it's not so much what you can do for me, but this is also what I can do for you. This is how I can add value to this. So you see, at the end of the day, in my humble opinion, representation matters. It matters to have someone who looks like you, who speaks your language, who is from the same neighborhood, who has a shared lived in experience as you. Those things matter. And as it relates to the work that I've done over the last couple of decades in my work in youth development, I think a lot about core values. What are my own values? How do they align with the places or the people that I meet and I connect with and I stay around in? Do their core values align with mine? And that's why I choose to do what I do. That's why I choose to stay. So I leave you with this one final thought. My 3 core values are humility, integrity, and service. Humility is my faith. Integrity is the person and the values that I wish to become and have. And service is my love for community. And that's why I do what I do. HIS. I call it his work, and that's why I do what I do. So I make decisions in a very, very easy way. I was asked to come to do this presentation. So it's not about whether I have time or do I have something cool or interesting to share. It's about, does this presentation and all of you who are listening, does it align with humility? Does it align with integrity? Does it align with service? If the answer is yes, then I show up. If the answer is no, I respectfully just decline and go continue that work because it's so important. So I want to leave you with that. I want to say thank you. I want to say congratulations on the huge milestone that you're about to achieve in graduating from high school. The best thing about this opportunity that is happening now and it's happening next is that there are so many options. So to recap, don't think about what you want to be, but ask yourself, what do I want to do? Think about the 4 C's of 21st century skills for the jobs of tomorrow that don't even exist right now, which are communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. And the last thing is, what are your core values? And how do you choose to tell your own story so that somebody else doesn't define your story for you? I thank you for your time. It's been an amazing journey. The journey continues. For you, it's just getting started. And so if I can be of any service to you now or in the future, please keep me in mind. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bruno. That was wonderful, so inspirational, so many amazing tidbits of you and of your journey and just of lives that you have shared with our students. So we appreciate that. And we will continue to keep you in mind because I know there's so many different opportunities and thank you, Michelle, for being here as well. But there's different opportunities that you can expose our students to here in LA, especially with soccer and especially everything that's going on right now with the World Cup. So thank you again, Bruno. Jesse?
Oh man, thank you so much for the opportunity to hear from you, and I hope our students found your advice valuable. I sure did. I feel I've known you for so many years, and I feel like I'm still getting to know you. So I truly appreciate you making the time to share your journey with our students, and hopefully this is work that we can continue to move together and hopefully bring the students of LA exposed to other opportunities that you have gone through, and maybe their journey can be influenced by some of that work and some advice. We truly value your work. We appreciate it.
Thank you so very much.